Welcome to Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research. Tonight, we step into one of the most terrifying stories ever connected to the paranormal. A story so disturbing that decades later, people still whisper about it in fear. A story that inspired one of the most infamous horror films ever made, The Exorcist. But tonight is not about Hollywood. Tonight is about the real story. The story of a young boy, strange noises in the night, furniture moving by itself, scratches appearing on skin, priests terrified beyond belief, witnesses who claimed they saw impossible things happen right in front of them, and a battle that many believed was against something truly evil. Some say it was mental illness. Others say it was mass hysteria. But the people who were there, the priests, the doctors, the family members, many of them went to their graves, believing they encountered something not of this world. And if even a fraction of this story is true, it raises a chilling question. What if demonic possession is real? Tonight, we look into the shadows. Our story begins in the late 1940s, long before the movie. Long before theaters filled with screaming audiences and reports of people fainting in their seats. Before the spinning heads and terrifying voices became legendary horror scenes. The real story began quietly. A normal family, a normal child. And then, something changed. The family lived a fairly ordinary life in the United States. The boy at the center of the story has never officially been publicly identified, though over the years many have claimed to know his identity. Most researchers simply refer to him as Roland Doe or Robbie. By all accounts, he was shy, introverted, intelligent, not known for violent behavior. But there was one person he was especially close to, his aunt. She reportedly had a fascination with spiritualism and the occult. During the early 1900s, seances and spirit communication had become wildly popular in parts of America. Ouija boards were sold almost like board games, marketed as harmless fun. His aunt introduced him to one. At first, it was just curiosity, letters moving across the board. Questions, answers, laughter. But according to the story, things became darker after the aunt suddenly died. The family was devastated, the boy especially. Then strange things began happening inside the home. At first, it sounded small, scratching noises behind the walls, water dripping where there were no pipes, footsteps in empty rooms. The family thought maybe there were rats in the walls or old plumbing problems, but then the sounds became impossible to explain. The scratching reportedly followed the boy from room to room. Witnesses claimed they heard heavy footsteps coming from upstairs when no one else was home. Objects began moving. A chair slid across the floor on its own. A vase reportedly shook violently. Religious pictures tilted on walls. The family grew frightened. Then came the bed. According to reports from those involved, the boy's mattress began shaking violently at night. Not slightly, violently. The bed frame reportedly rattled so hard it struck the floor repeatedly. The family believed the child was somehow causing it himself in his sleep, until they allegedly witnessed the movement firsthand. And then things escalated further. Scratches began appearing on the boy's body. Words, symbols, deep red marks that seemed to rise from beneath the skin. Some witnesses later claimed words like evil or hell appeared carved across his chest and arms. Doctors were consulted. Psychiatrists were consulted. But no clear answer was found. And this is where the story becomes truly terrifying. The family eventually turned to religion. A Lutheran minister reportedly visited the home to investigate the claims. At first, even he remained skeptical. He believed there had to be a rational explanation, until he spent the night in the house. According to his account, he witnessed furniture moving on its own. He claimed objects flew through the room. He allegedly heard scratching beneath the floorboards and inside the walls. and after witnessing the boy's bed violently shaking, he concluded something deeply disturbing. He believed the case might involve demonic possession. The minister advised the family to contact the Catholic Church. Now this is important. The Catholic Church does not casually approve exorcisms. Even today, claims of possession are heavily investigated. Medical and psychological causes are supposed to be ruled out first. But according to the story, multiple priests became involved after witnessing events themselves. The boy was eventually brought to a Catholic hospital where priests monitored him closely. And this is where some of the most disturbing accounts emerged. Witnesses claimed the boy spoke in strange voices. Not one voice, multiple voices. Deep, animalistic, violent, at times allegedly speaking languages he had never learned. Witnesses described his behavior changing dramatically whenever prayers were spoken. He reportedly screamed obscenities at priests, spat at them, growled. At times his body allegedly convulsed violently. Some claimed his entire personality changed. And then came the attacks. During one session, witnesses claimed the boy broke free and attacked a priest using a broken bed spring from the mattress restraints. Another priest reportedly suffered severe injuries during the ordeal. The sessions became physically and emotionally exhausting. The priests conducting the exorcism allegedly feared for their lives. And according to accounts later connected to the case, the room itself seemed to react during the rituals. Objects moved, beds shook, the temperature dropped. At times, witnesses claimed a foul smell filled the room. Sulfur, rot, decay. For believers in the paranormal, sulfur has long been associated with demonic manifestations. The priests continued anyway, night after night, prayer after prayer. The exorcism rituals reportedly lasted weeks, and every session became more intense. The boy allegedly screamed when holy water touched him, even when he didn't know whether it was holy water or ordinary water. Witnesses claimed words appeared on his body during the rituals. One word reportedly stood out above all others: Louis. The priests interpreted this as a sign that the exorcism needed to continue elsewhere. Eventually, the family traveled to St. Louis, Missouri, and this is where the legend surrounding the case truly exploded into American folklore. More priests became involved, more witnesses, more terrifying claims. The boy was reportedly housed at a Catholic institution while the rituals continued. Some witnesses later described hearing inhuman screams echoing through hallways at night. Others claimed they heard furniture slamming against walls inside locked rooms. The priests themselves reportedly became physically drained and emotionally traumatized. Some allegedly feared they were witnessing something truly supernatural. One priest in particular became central to the case. A young Jesuit priest, educated, intelligent, skeptical. He initially doubted the claims, but according to the accounts surrounding the case, even he eventually became convinced something horrifying was happening. During the exorcism sessions, witnesses claimed the boy's body arched unnaturally. His voice shifted into guttural growls. Profanities filled the room. The rituals became battles of endurance. Hours of prayer. Hours of screaming. Hours of chaos. And then came one of the most famous moments connected to the story. Witnesses claimed the boy suddenly reacted violently during an intense session. He screamed, convulsed, and vomited across the room, striking one of the priests in the face. Years later, when the story inspired a novel and eventually the film adaptation, that horrifying moment evolved into one of the most iconic scenes in horror movie history. The projectile vomiting scene. The split-pea soup. A moment so shocking that audiences in theaters reportedly screamed, fainted, and even fled the building during screenings. But behind the Hollywood effects was a far darker reality. Because according to the original accounts, the real priests involved were not entertained. They were terrified And as the exorcism continued, things reportedly became even more disturbing. Witnesses claimed the boy displayed impossible strength. At times, several adults allegedly struggled to restrain him. The room temperature reportedly fluctuated wildly. Some witnesses later claimed they heard strange animal-like sounds in the room, growling, hissing, snarling. And then came the final confrontation. According to the legend surrounding the case, the priests reached a breaking point, exhausted, physically injured, emotionally shattered, but determined to finish the ritual. During the final exorcism session, the priests allegedly demanded the entity reveal its name. This has long been a theme in religious exorcisms. In many traditions, knowing the name of a spirit supposedly gives power over it. Witnesses claimed the entity identified itself as demonic. The room reportedly erupted into chaos. The boy screamed violently. The bed shook. Objects crashed to the floor. And then suddenly, silence. Complete silence. According to the story, the boy awoke calm, confused, weak, but normal. He allegedly had little or no memory of the events. The possession, if that is what it truly was, appeared over. The family disappeared from public attention soon after. The Catholic Church never fully released detailed official records, and that secrecy only fueled the mystery. Years later, a writer heard whispers about the case. A young author named William Peter Blatty. He became fascinated by the reports, the strange events, the priests, the alleged possession. He spent years researching the story and eventually transformed it into a novel. That novel became The Exorcist. And when the movie released in 1973, audiences were unprepared for what they saw. The film was unlike anything before it. Dark, disturbing, religious, violent, terrifying. People reportedly fainted in theaters. Some became physically ill. Others fled screenings in panic. There were reports of ambulances being called outside theaters. Religious groups protested it, but that only made the legend stronger. Then, strange rumors began surrounding the movie itself. People whispered the production was cursed. Actors suffered injuries. Sets caught fire. Deaths occurred among people connected to the production. Some believed the film itself carried dark energy because of the subject matter, and that fear helped cement The Exorcist as one of the most feared horror movies ever created. But decades later, the real debate still continues. Was the original case truly paranormal? Skeptics argue the boy may have suffered from mental illness, emotional trauma, or psychological conditions not fully understood at the time. Others believe the priests unintentionally intensified the behavior through fear and religious pressure. Some researchers claim parts of the story were exaggerated over time, but believers point to the witnesses, multiple priests, doctors, family members, people who claimed they saw impossible things happen with their own eyes. And perhaps the creepiest part of all, many of those witnesses never sought fame. Many avoided publicity entirely. Some rarely spoke publicly again, almost as if they wanted to forget what they experienced. Even today, exorcisms remain real within certain religious traditions. The Catholic Church still trains exorcists. Cases are still investigated around the world, and stories continue to emerge involving unexplained behavior, voices, violent reactions to religious objects, and terrifying encounters people cannot explain. Whether you believe in demons or not, stories like this force us to confront something unsettling. How much do we truly understand about the human mind? Could ancient fears of possession stem from misunderstood illnesses? Or is there something darker hiding beneath reality, something humanity has feared for thousands of years? Maybe the scariest part of the story is not spinning heads or terrifying voices. Maybe it is the possibility that somewhere, somehow, something truly evil may exist, waiting, watching, looking for a way in. And if that possibility is even remotely true, then perhaps the line between our world and something darker is thinner than we want to believe. Thank you for joining us tonight on Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share the podcast with fellow paranormal enthusiasts. And remember, not every ghost story is just a story. Sometimes the shadows stare back. Until next time, keep looking into the shadows. Happy hauntings.